The laughter, it wasn't a roar, but a soft, controlled whisper, crafted to pierce only me. Girls like her, Adam's father murmured, his whine swirling like contempt. They don't marry for commitment. They marry for comfort. A few uneasy chuckles rippled, some eyes darted away. Others feigned intense interest in their plates. My hands clasped in my lap, held nails pressing into my skin, a quiet defiance. My plate remained untouched. Adam, with a practiced, smug grin, leaned in. She went from poverty to pearls in weeks. Not bad, huh? Another wave of laughter, this one catching, resonating in my teeth, my chest, my very bones. Even his mother offered a faint smile, as if this cruel charade was mere playful banter, a joke I should graciously accept. As if I should be grateful for this seat amidst crystal and white linen, in a family that had never truly believed I belonged. My throat tightened, not with shame, but with a fierce restraint. I could have screamed, could have hurled the champagne, slapped that smirk from Adam's face, stormed out in dramatic fury. But I didn't. Instead, I rose slowly, my dress smoothing around me, a silent testament to my resolve. I slipped the engagement ring from my finger, placing it with quiet precision on the edge of Adam's plate. Gasps and whispers filled the air. A fork clattered to the floor, yet I heard none of it. I was already moving, my heels clicking a steady rhythm on the marble. Each step a declaration. No apology, no explanation, no dramatic collapse, just silence. And then the purposeful click, carrying me away from the most expensive humiliation I had ever been gifted. I didn't glance back. There was no need. Their faces, I knew, would be etched with shock, embarrassment, still grappling with the fact that the girl they believed they owned had just walked out of their perfect, scripted performance. I refused to grant them the dignity of a scene. I took my dignity with me. My name is Jasmine Brooks. I found myself narrating, an inner voice blossoming. And the night they mocked my worth was the night I began to rewrite their legacy. Let them whisper their tales of gold digging, of a girl who couldn't take a joke. Let them weave their lies, for soon the world would know my truth. Not just who I was then, but who I became after that night. They should never have handed me that microphone of shame, that deafening silence. For I was about to turn it into thunder. When the world tells you your dreams are too vast, you learn to make yourself small. My mother, a seamstress of quiet pride and endless weariness, raised me in a tiny apartment above a nail salon. Wallpaper peeled, the fridge door needed a coaxing kick, but love overflowed there. My childhood knew no pearls, only the art of stretching a dollar, finding beauty in worn hand-me-downs, and holding your head high when everyone expected it to be bowed. I studied by flashlight beneath my blanket, did laundry at night, worked weekend shifts, chasing every scholarship. Each acceptance letter, folded and tucked into an old shoebox, wasn't just pride. It was proof. Proof that I was charting my own path, clawing my way upwards. That's where Adam entered my story. He emerged not from shadows but from spotlights, from a world where problems vanished with a phone call, where struggle was a distant documentary. We met at a company gala. I shadowing a PR team through a hard-won fellowship. He a rising star in his father's firm, charming and polished. I knew his kind, glossy, captivating, beautiful from afar, potentially devastating up close. Yet he noticed me, remarking on my interesting eyes. I rolled them. He laughed. My refusal to be immediately captivated, it seemed, intrigued him. He pursued me with an undeniable zeal. Flowers, coffee, dinners in places whose names I couldn't pronounce. He spoke of admiring my drive, finding me refreshing. Slowly, cautiously, I let him in against a quiet warning from my mother. Jazz, rich men like that don't love women like us. They collect us. I dismissed it as bitterness then. She was, in fact, incredibly wise. Adam's cruelty was never overt. It was a polished condescension. You're not like other girls from your background, he'd say, as if it were the highest compliment. He'd joke about rescuing me from ramen and roommates. At first, I'd laugh, eager not to appear sensitive. He was just being playful, right? Until his mother offered a bag of her old jewelry, a sweet smile masking the implication. These should help you look the part. Until his father over lunch asked, "So what's the real plan here, Jasmine? Secure the ring, then the assets." I'd smile, bite my tongue, and pay for my own meal. I desperately wanted to believe Adam was different, that love could outshine legacy, that privilege could see beyond the surface. But looking back, he loved the idea of me. My journey from scarcity made me a compelling anecdote, a testament to his generosity, his open-mindedness. He wanted me beside him, a beautiful accessory, but never truly at the table, an equal. He wanted me grateful, quiet, owned, and I was none of those things. Not for long. The first crack appeared at a rooftop bar. I was sharing a story about selling handmade bracelets in high school to help with rent. Adam's response, accompanied by a light kiss to my cheek, felt like a soft blow. "God, babe, that's so cute." Like a charity case with ambition. He always did that, wrapped his subtle digs in ribbons of endearment. Called me adorable when I asserted myself. Cute when my dreams dared to be loud. The hardest part was I let him. When you come from scarcity, sometimes attention feels like love, even when it's laced with tiny knives. He showered me with gifts and trips, showcasing me to friends who whispered things like, "She's got that glow-up story energy. Hope she's worth the brand rub." I'd laugh along, pretending not to notice, convincing myself that love demanded compromise. But true love, I would learn, doesn't demand you erase yourself. Adam was meticulously trying to sculpt me into a pretty portrait for his gallery, not a partner to stand beside. The red flags weren't just waving. They were dancing a frantic jig, culminating in the prenup his father casually slid across a brunch table. "Just protecting family assets," he'd said with a smile devoid of warmth. When I looked to Adam for support, he merely shrugged. "It's standard. Not a big deal." My dignity, it seemed, was never a big deal to them. The first crack appeared at a rooftop bar. I was sharing a story about selling handmade bracelets in high school to help with rent. Adam's response, accompanied by a light kiss to my cheek, felt like a soft blow. "God, babe, that's so cute." Like a charity case with ambition. He always did that, wrapped his subtle digs in ribbons of endearment. Called me adorable when I asserted myself. Cute when my dreams dared to be loud. The hardest part was I let him. When you come from scarcity, sometimes attention feels like love, even when it's laced with tiny knives. He showered me with gifts and trips, showcasing me to friends who whispered things like, "She's got that glow-up story energy. Hope she's worth the brand rub." I'd laugh along, pretending not to notice, convincing myself that love demanded compromise. But true love, I would learn, doesn't demand you erase yourself. Adam was meticulously trying to sculpt me into a pretty portrait for his gallery, not a partner to stand beside. The red flags weren't just waving. They were dancing a frantic jig, culminating in the prenup his father casually slid across a brunch table. "Just protecting family assets," he'd said with a smile devoid of warmth. When I looked to Adam for support, he merely shrugged. "It's standard. Not a big deal." My dignity, it seemed, was never a big deal to them. His mother offered a stylist to polish me for our engagement photos. His cousin murmured, "At least she'll raise hard-working kids." Adam, upon hearing of my new consulting gig, dismissively said, "Cute, you've got a hobby now." Each slight chipped away at me. I told myself to adjust, that love required bending. But with every bend, something sacred inside me strained and snapped. I missed the girl I once was, the hustler, the dreamer, the woman who arrived fierce and focused, not waiting to be introduced. Adam hadn't killed her, but he had me hiding her. Then, one night, staring at my business analytics at 3 a.m., a profound realization dawned. My client base had doubled. My consulting packages were circulating in elite circles. A woman I'd mentored emailed me, "You don't just teach strategy, you remind us we're worth something." I had spent so long trying to fit into Adam's world that I hadn't noticed I was already building a vibrant one of my own. That's when the plan began. Not revenge, but release. Quietly, methodically, I separated our finances, moved client communications to a private line, changed passwords. Adam, blinded by his own arrogance, never noticed. He paraded me around like a prized secret, an ornament for his functions, never an empress behind the scenes. I let him because the best disguise for someone who wants to be underestimated is the other person's hubris. Every financial document, invoice, client agreement, all meticulously copied to a private drive. My worth untethered from their approval. My wardrobe shifted. I shed their gifted blazers and handbags that whispered, "Be grateful we included you." Returning to my own bold, sharp style, rooted in my identity, not theirs. Every move was surgical, for true liberation is precise, not loud. My exit plan unfolded. A penthouse office, 6 months paid in advance. An assistant. A single mom whose resilience mirrored my own mother's. A custom plaque gleamed silver on the glass door. Jasmine Brooks, CEO, Brooks & Bloom Consulting. No pearls, just earned polish. When Adam asked if I was excited for the engagement dinner, I smiled sweetly, thrilled. He kissed my forehead, believing I was his good girl. I let him cherish that illusion, for his legacy was already crumbling. In the week before the dinner, his latest startup pitch failed. 3 investors pulled out. One of them now funded me. He had no idea I was the redirecting force, that my name, once invisible in his world, now resonated in the very rooms where money changed hands. He was too preoccupied with napkin colors. I watched him rehearse his toast the night before. Jasmine is proof that love can lift someone up. I almost laughed. Love didn't lift me. I did. Love didn't build my business. I did. Love didn't walk through fire and emerge with scars and dignity intact. That was all me. But I let him rehearse. Because the most exquisite part of walking away is allowing them to believe they still hold you. Until you open your hand and reveal. You were never holding on to them at all. They were merely passing through. And tomorrow night, they would witness what happens when the woman they tried to shrink decides to grow. Unapologetically, silently, powerfully, on her own terms. The room shimmered with excessive gold. From chairs to chargers to name cards. The floral arrangements glinting like embodied ego. I entered alone, no +1, no apology. My fitted black dress was a confident secret. My heels clicked like punctuation. Heads turned, not because I was overdressed, but because I finally radiated an effortless disregard for their approval. Adam greeted me with his practiced smile. Wow, you clean up. I nodded. I'm not here to be cleaned. He laughed, thinking it a joke. Of course he did. His mother air-kissed my cheeks, a socialite staking territory. Glad you wore something simple, she whispered. Wouldn't want to outshine the family. Outshine, lady? I built a company while you built centerpieces. I took my seat. The speeches began. His cousin waxed poetic about Adam's great taste. His father, champagne aloft, ego in full bloom, declared, "We are so proud to welcome Jasmine into our family. She reminds us that with the right support, anyone can rise." Whispers, laughter, eyes sliding my way. Then with gleaming eyes he added, "Girls like Jasmine know how to upgrade their lives. From humble beginnings to pearls. Isn't that right, son?" Adam, smirking, chimed in. She upgraded real quick. The laughter this time wasn't just a tingle. It was a cut. And Adam, he joined them. That was the moment. Not the insult, not the dig, but the smirk, the betrayal wrapped in a smile. A man so utterly comfortable with me as the punchline. I stood unhurried, unemotional, simply done. I slid the ring from my finger. The same ring his mother had once suggested would look more believable, after I toned up my hands. I placed it gently before Adam's plate. Gasp circulated like a heavy perfume. I turned to his father. "Thank you for your generosity," I said, my voice steady. "And your clarity." Then to Adam, who looked utterly lost, as if he'd forgotten his lines in a play. "I was never yours," I said softly. "You just mistook my grace for gratitude." I scanned the table. Every smug face, every empty smile, every eye that had once dismissed me, now frozen in bewildered silence. "This dinner didn't expose me," I declared, lifting my chin. "It exposed all of you." Then I walked. No tears, no raised voice, just the clear, resonant tap of my heels through their shocked quiet. One guest, a woman I didn't recognize, perhaps a date, perhaps a kindred spirit, rose and clapped. One single clap, echoing louder than all their laughter. Outside I breathed deeply. The city remained unchanged, yet everything had shifted. I hadn't merely left a dinner. I had exited a narrative. The girl they had mistaken for a mere decoration had just become the headline. It began with a text from one of Adam's groomsmen. "Yo, what happened last night?" Twitter's blowing up. I hadn't posted a word. I didn't need to. Someone at the dinner had captured the moment. The father's speech, Adam's smirk, my ring landing like a gilded mic drop. By morning, the video had hundreds of thousands of views. By lunch, a hashtag. Hashtag she did not come to beg. People weren't just watching, they were feeling it. Women worldwide shared their own stories of walking out of rooms that sought to diminish them. My quiet declarations? You mistook my grace for gratitude. This dinner didn't expose me, it exposed all of you. Exploded across comment sections. Adam tried to fight the current. He posted a selfie. Sometimes people can't handle real love. The comments were brutal. Real love doesn't laugh when you're insulted. She was too good for you and you proved it. Bro, just sit this one out. His startup, desperate for investors, lost 3 key backers within 24 hours. Not because of the scandal itself, but because my true identity finally surfaced. Someone leaked my company's pitch deck. An article appeared, Jasmine Brooks, the tech strategist they called a gold digger. It told my story, the one Adam never bothered to ask about. My ascent, my business, my plans to fund female-led startups in underserved communities, my 7-figure valuation. Suddenly, I wasn't just Adam's ex. I was Jasmine Brooks, CEO, survivor, architect of my own formidable success. His world unraveled. I heard he went into damage control, claiming I overreacted, that it was just a joke. But the internet and I didn't forget. Adam's father went silent. No statements, no apologies, just a swift cancellation of his speaking gig at a business summit. Turns out, publicly insulting women trying to rise from poverty isn't great for one's public image. I never reached out, never answered their calls, never opened their emails. I simply watched as the pedestal they built for themselves cracked under the weight of their own arrogance. I didn't need to destroy them. They managed that perfectly well on their own. And me? I kept building. I was invited to speak at a women's finance summit. All expenses paid. Topic: walking out with wealth. When silence is louder than revenge. The irony was exquisite. Adam's father was supposed to be the keynote. They replaced him with me. That's when I understood. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about correction. They had taught me I wasn't enough unless I was quiet, small, grateful. But now I was loud in all the right ways, visible in rooms they couldn't control. And I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Once a woman truly sees her worth, she never forgets it. And neither do the men who tried to laugh it away. There's a profound power in being underestimated. They saw a decoration. A girl polished from grit to gloss. They missed the spreadsheets behind my smile, the quiet hustle, the nights I pored over code while they slept on silk. But the curtain had lifted, and what they dismissed as cute ambition had blossomed into capital headlines, a movement. The day my Forbes feature dropped, I was in sweats, sipping instant coffee, hair in a pineapple bun. The headline: she was called a gold digger at her own engagement dinner. Now she funds futures. The photo was from the women's summit, me at the podium, hand midair, a fire in my eyes. The article barely touched on Adam or his father. It focused on the women I hired, the programs I launched, how I transformed every insult, every smirk, every "you're lucky to be here," into a consulting empire, empowering marginalized founders with capital, confidence, and control. It read, Jasmine Brooks didn't walk out. She walked up. And she's not waiting for anyone to catch up. Just like that, I wasn't viral noise. I was a force. I launched a scholarship fund in my mother's name. The Myra Brooks Initiative for First-Generation Women in Tech Applications poured in. I gave a TEDx talk titled Silence Isn't Weakness, It's Strategy. A book deal followed, with the working title Pearls Were Never the Goal. The delicious irony. 2 of Adam's former investors reached out to me. One confessed, "We backed the wrong person. You were the brain the whole time." I didn't gloat. I simply replied, "You finally read the fine print." Then came the email I hadn't expected. "Jazz, I know I messed up. I was stupid. I see it now. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen. Once I might have replied, might even have apologized for my overreaction. But now there was nothing left to say. He'd said enough that night. And I had answered with my heels, my silence, and the empire I built without needing his name. I archived the message, not to ignore it, but to preserve it as proof. Proof that the girl who once sold bracelets to help her mom now wore her own name like a crown. Later, a journalist asked, "What would you say to the women still sitting at those tables swallowing insults?" I pondered, then said, You don't owe anyone your silence to be seen. Walk out if you must, but don't just walk away. Walk towards something greater. The clip went viral because truth always echoes louder than shame. I had finally learned. I was never meant to belong at their table. I was meant to build my own. Longer, louder, wiser, with no room for mockery. Only momentum. It arrived in a cream envelope. Thick paper, handwritten, no return address. Inside, a single note. Jasmine, I watched your TEDx talk. You've become more than I ever imagined. Maybe I didn't know how to support someone like you. Maybe I was scared. Either way, I'm sorry. Adam. I read it, then reread it, then folded it gently into the bottom drawer of my desk. Not to save it, but to bury it. Closure doesn't come wrapped in apologies from men who clapped while your spirit was cracked open on fine china. It comes when you look in the mirror and no longer see the girl who needed them to see her. Closure is knowing you built your own table, filled it with voices that never made you beg for your place. The final shift arrived with a call from a national leadership summit, inviting me as their closing speaker. Theme: from breaking point to blueprint. I accepted, not because I needed to speak, but because someone out there still hadn't found the words to walk away, and I wanted to be the voice that told her she didn't need permission to rise. I stood at that podium in a silk suit the color of fire, looking out at hundreds of faces, young, weathered, all listening. I took a breath. Once upon a time I was called a gold digger. I began. They said I came from nothing, that I wore ambition like borrowed pearls. But they forgot. I never needed gold. I just needed space. The room held its breath, then erupted. A standing ovation, not for my past, but for what I'd built beyond it. Afterward, a woman with soft eyes approached, gripping my hand. I handed back the ring last week, she whispered. Because of you. And in that moment I knew none of it had been wasted. Not the silence, not the heartbreak, not even the laughter that tried to break me. They all became brick and mortar for something real, something worthy. Back home, I framed the Forbes article beside my mother's old sewing machine. She cried when she saw it. You were always going to shine, she said, even when they tried to dim you. I nodded, for I finally believed her. And on the wall of my new office behind my desk, in gold letters unapologetically large, hangs a quote. She didn't upgrade her life, she created it. That is my legacy. Not revenge. Not the ring I returned. But the fire I carried out with me, and used to light the way for every woman still sitting in rooms that want to keep her small. They thought they broke me that night. But what they really did was show me who I wasn't, so I could finally remember who I truly was.